In the rural community of Akala, where the sun dipped into the horizon and painted the sky with hues of crimson and gold, Abadi, a skilled shoemaker, lived with his family. His workshop, a small wooden structure on the outskirts of town, was where he spent most of his days, crafting beautiful shoes that told stories of their own. Abadi's wife, a pillar of strength and love, stood by his side, supporting him in every way. Together, they had 2 children, Jolad and Jay, whose lives would soon become intertwined with the threads of fate. Jay trudged along the dusty path, his feet heavy with the weight of his own disappointment. He had been dreading this moment for what felt like an eternity. The moment he would have to face his father's wrath. Again. For the 3rd time, Jay had repeated SS2, a constant reminder of his struggles in school. His friends had long since moved on, leaving him behind to navigate the familiar halls of his secondary school once more. The shame and frustration burned within him like a fire, threatening to consume him whole. As he approached his family's small house, Jay's heart sank. He could feel his father's anger emanating from within, like a palpable force waiting to strike. Jay hesitated, wondering if he could delay the inevitable, but his father's booming voice cut through the air, shattering any illusions of escape. "Jay!" his father thundered. Jay took a deep breath and pushed open the creaky door, steeling himself for the confrontation to come. He ran inside, his eyes cast downward, unable to meet his father's piercing gaze. The words spilled out of his father like venom. "So you're repeating SS2 again? For the 3rd time? You and your younger sister are now in the same class. Is this how you want your life to be?" Jay felt the sting of shame, his face burning with embarrassment. He mumbled a feeble apology, but his father would have none of it. "This is not the time to be sorry, Jay," his father spat, his voice dripping with contempt. "By the time your sister gains admission into the university and you're still wasting away here, maybe then you'll understand the true meaning of regret." Jay felt the weight of his father's words, the crushing blow of his disappointment. He knew he had let everyone down, his parents, his sister, and himself. As he stood there, feeling the sting of his father's anger, Jay couldn't help but wonder if he would ever find his way, or if he would remain forever lost in the shadows of his own potential. Jay slunk away, his eyes cast downward, as his father's dismissive words still lingered in the air. "Leave my sight." The command had been clear, and Jay had obeyed, fleeing the scene of his latest disappointment. On the day of resumption, Jay walked through the school gates. Jay's reluctance grew. Everyone was bustling about, eager to start the new session. But Jay's heart wasn't in it. He had been dreading this day, knowing he would have to face his junior classmates, now his peers. Jay trudged over to the field, his sports kit slung over his shoulder, and plopped down on the grassy corner, lost in thought. The sounds of laughter and chatter from the other students seemed to fade into the background as Jay's mind wandered. "Is everything all right?" "Well, you should be in class right now. Please report to your classroom immediately." Jay sighed inwardly, knowing he couldn't avoid the inevitable. He slowly gathered his sports kit and trudged towards his classroom, his feet heavy with reluctance. As he pushed open the door, A sea of familiar faces turned to stare at him, their eyes filled with a mix of curiosity and pity. Jay's heart sank, and he slid into the back of the classroom hoping to escape notice. Jay had disobeyed his father again, and he knew the consequence. Jay's small frame trembled as he cowered on the bench, his father's belt cracking through the air, striking him with a loud thud. After I specifically told you to quit playing football, you deliberately disobeyed me. You think you can ignore my orders and I'll take it lightly. If only you focused on your studies half as much as you do on football, you would have graduated from secondary school by now. Enraged, Jay's father snatched his sports kit and stormed out of the sitting room. Jay watched in horror as his father emerged into the backyard, the sports kit held aloft like a trophy. With a fierce cry, he hurled the kit into a bonfire, the flames engulfing the precious equipment. Jay felt a searing pain in his heart, as if the fire was consuming not just his sports kit, but his very dreams and aspirations. He buried his face in his hands, his body shaking with sobs as the sound of crackling flames and his father's angry muttering filled the air. The school's assembly hall buzzed with excitement as the principal and teachers announced the new prefects. Jay's eyes widened in shock as he heard his name called out. And Mandy, Jay Sport Prefect. The hall erupted in cheers and applause, with his friends chanting his name, JAYE, JAYE. He rose from his seat, his face flushed with surprise, and made his way to the podium to join the other prefects. As he stood alongside his fellow prefects, Jay couldn't believe his own ears. He knew his academic performance had been struggling, and he had never expected to be chosen as a prefect, especially not for a role like sport prefect. Jay's classmates were surprised. They never thought Jay would be a prefect. Can you believe they made Jay a prefect? With his dull brain, I mean. Come on. I was shocked when his name was called. I didn't think he had a chance. The annual sports day arrived. The sun beat down on the track as Jay led his school team into the inter-house sports competition. With determination etched on his face, he sprinted down the track, his relay team counting on him to bring home the gold. The crowd erupted in cheers as Jay crossed the finish line, his school's colors waving triumphantly in the air. But Jay's day was far from over. Next up was the football match, and Jay was determined to lead his team to victory. With every pass, every shot, and every tackle, Jay gave it his all. The crowd was on the edge of their seats as the match came to a close, Jay's school emerging victorious once again. Jay's little sister was his biggest fan. She cheered for him at every game. She believed in him, even when he doubted himself. As the event came to a close, the crowd rushed onto the field, congratulating Jay on his impressive performance. His teammates lifted him onto their shoulders, cheering and whistling as they celebrated their victory. Jay grinned from ear to ear, basking in the adoration of the crowd. For one shining moment, he forgot about his struggles in school, forgot about his father's disappointment, and simply reveled in the thrill of triumph. Jay's passion for sports only grew stronger with each passing day. He juggled his academic responsibilities with his training, determined to excel in both areas. His allowance was carefully allocated, with every spare penny spent on sports kits and training equipment. Transportation was often a challenge, but Jay's dedication knew no bounds. He would trek kilometers to meet his friends for friendly matches, his love for the sport driving him forward. One fateful day, during one of his training sessions, a coach from a local football club approached him with an extraordinary offer. "I've been watching you play, and I'm impressed. I'd like you to join our team for an upcoming competition in Ghana." Jay's heart skipped a beat as he processed the offer. It was a dream come true, but he was hesitant. His parents had always been skeptical about his football ambitions, and he wasn't sure if they would allow him to participate. "I'm honored, sir, but I need to ask my parents for permission. Would it be possible for you to speak with my father?" "Of course, I'd be happy to meet with your father. Let me schedule a meeting with him, and we'll take it from there." Coach visited Jay's father to discuss with him as Jay suggested. Jay's father sat rigidly on the couch, his face a mask of disapproval, as the coach explained the opportunity for Jay to participate in the Ghana trip. The coach's words were met with an angry interruption. "I'm sure you're a father yourself, and you'd want the best for your son. The only thing I'm interested in is Jay's education, how he'll gain admission and make me proud. I didn't have much education, and I vowed to see my children have it till any level. I'm telling you this because you're a man like me, or so I thought. I won't entertain anyone coming into my home and teaching me how to train my own son." "I understand, sir, but Jay's talent is another avenue to his success. It won't affect his education, I promise you. This unique talent of his can take him anywhere in the world." "We're done here." Jay's father stood up, his face reddening with anger. He barked, his voice final. He stormed out of the room, leaving the coach and Jay's mother in an uncomfortable silence. Jay's mother quickly followed her husband, trying to persuade him to reconsider. "Dear, please listen to the coach. This could be a wonderful opportunity for Jay." But her words were met with a slammed door, leaving her to wonder if she could find a way to change her husband's mind. As the days passed, Jay's father's anger slowly subsided, replaced by a sense of determination. His daughter, Jolad, sensing the calm, approached him to discuss the Ghana trip once more. "Daddy, please reconsider. This is a great opportunity for Jay. He's really good at football, and it could be his ticket to a better future. There's time for everything, my dear. Jay has misplaced priorities, and it's my duty as his father to correct him." Jolette nodded, though her eyes betrayed her disappointment. Days turned into a week, and the household settled into its routine. Jay's mother returned from the market one afternoon, accompanied by a friend. As she entered the house, she excused herself to retrieve some money from her bag. But as she rummaged through her bag, her expression changed from calm to frantic. She dashed out of the room, scattering the contents of her bag everywhere. Still, she couldn't find the money. "Jay, Jolade," she called out, her voice laced with worry. But there was no response. The house was silent, except for her friend's concerned murmurs. The evening air was thick with worry as Jay's parents, their daughter, and two neighbors gathered outside, discussing the missing teenager. "Put your mind at rest, Mommy Jay. At least we have an idea of where he could be. I'm sure he'll walk in by himself. Teenagers and their selfish behaviors. He followed his friends to Ghana without your consent and still emptied his mother's pocket. That's too bad of Jay. How are we sure he ran off to Ghana? I think we should report to the police as early as possible tomorrow morning." Could something bad have happened to Jay? The thought sent a shiver down her spine, and she clutched her daughter's hand, seeking comfort. The neighbors exchanged worried glances, their expression somber. The night ahead would be long and filled with anxiety. The father's expression remained stern, his emotions locked in a delicate balance between anger and worry. His eyes, narrowed and intense, seemed to bore into the distance, as if searching for a glimpse of his missing son. His jaw was clenched, his lips pressed into a thin line, betraying no hint of the turmoil brewing within. "We'll wait till tomorrow morning to report to the police. Maybe then we'll get some answers." The father's anger and worry were intertwined, making it difficult for him to process his emotions. He was torn between his frustration with Jay's actions and his deep-seated concern for his son's well-being. 3 weeks had passed since Jay's disappearance, and now he stood before his mother, his eyes cast downward in shame. He begged for forgiveness, explaining that desperation had driven him to steal her money to fund his trip. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I was desperate and needed the money for the trip. I shouldn't have taken it without asking. Here, take it back. Please forgive me." "I accept your apology, Jay. But you should have asked me for the money instead of stealing it. That's not the right thing to do. Now, what are you going to do about your father?" "He's very furious with you. I don't know, Mom. I'll face him, I guess." The darkness of the night was undisturbed, with everyone in the household fast asleep. Jay, exhausted from his journey, was lost in a deep slumber, unaware of the storm brewing outside his bedroom door. His father, fueled by anger and disappointment, crept into Jay's bedroom, the silence broken only by the soft creaking of the door. Without warning, he unleashed a flurry of lashes from his belt, striking Jay's sleeping form. Jay's eyes flew open, and he let out a blood-curdling scream as the pain seared through his body. He leapt off the bed, his heart racing, as his father's belt cracked against his skin once more. "Stop! Please stop!" Jay's mother cried, rushing into the room, her voice pleading with her husband to cease his anger. But the father's rage had taken over, and he continued to flog Jay, who was now cowering on the floor, his cries echoing through the night. The silence of the night was shattered by Jay's anguished screams, a sound that would haunt the household for a long time. The father's anger was a storm that had finally broken, and Jay was left to face the consequences of his actions. The morning sun cast a pale light over the neighborhood, but Jay's world was still reeling from the aftermath of the previous night's beating. He winced in pain as he moved, his body aching from the lashes of his father's belt. Just as he was trying to come to terms with his situation, two men arrived at the house, their presence abrupt and menacing. They emerged from a car, their faces stern and unyielding, and marched straight towards Jay's house. Without warning, they burst into the house, their hands reaching out to grab Jay. He shouted in protest, but his cries were muffled as they dragged him out of the house and into the waiting car. The neighbor, who had been going about their daily routine, gathered around in confusion, trying to make sense of the sudden commotion. As the car sped away, Jay's desperate cries echoed through the neighborhood, leaving behind a trail of uncertainty and concern. What do you think you're doing? Have you forgotten that I also have a say over this boy? After I begged you to spare him, and now you've gone and let those men take him away. If anything happens to my son, you'll know you're not the only difficult man on earth. Nothing will happen to him. I want him to go to the spiritual correctional center. I've discussed it with my elder brother, the clergy. You know him, don't you? By the time Jay returns, he won't have any interest in the nonsense he's been doing. A correctional center for my son. Because of what? You will provide my son, or I won't take it easy with you. You hear me? I won't let you dictate what happens to Jay without a fight. Jolad sat among her friends, her eyes distant as she recounted the story of her brother, Jay. And that was the last time I ever saw my brother. It's been 3 years now, 3 horrible years without any information about my only brother. But wait, what was your dad's explanation when you asked him? Well, all he said was that Jay ran away from the correctional center. That's strange, and I must say your dad is too strict. What's your mom doing about it? I don't know. Apart from crying herself to sleep every night, which isn't going to bring my brother back. We believe your brother ran away to start a new life somewhere, and he'll return. I vowed never to go back to that house. And the most annoying thing is my mother's blind loyalty to him. One day, Ayo, who used to be Jay's classmate, was standing beside his car, which was parked by the roadside, when he noticed a disheveled figure roaming around, eyeing his vehicle with an unsettling intensity. The man, dressed in tattered clothes, seemed to be trying to dent Ayo's car. Ayo's instincts kicked in, and he tried to shoo the man away. But as he took a closer look, his eyes widened in shock. The man's face, though gaunt and weathered, was unmistakable. Ayo's voice was barely above a whisper, but it was enough to make his own heart skip a beat. However, the man didn't respond. Instead, he quickly darted away, disappearing into the crowd. Ayo stood frozen, his mind reeling with questions. Was it really Jay? What had happened to him? Why was he acting like a madman? The encounter left Ayo shaken, and he couldn't shake off the feeling that something was terribly wrong. Ayo recalled a story from a friend who once claimed to have seen a seemingly deranged man chasing after a ball at a secondary school. The description sounded eerily like Ayo, but he hadn't given it much thought at the time. Now, however, the memory came flooding back, and he felt a deep sense of sorrow, thinking about what could have gone wrong, and where his own potential had ultimately led.